Hey guys, hopefully you can hear me well. I've been kind of messing around with stream settings and sound settings. Tried adding some filters in. YouTube takes a few moments to sync everything up for some reason. I don't know why they started doing that, but I haven't really changed anything that would cause a delay in synchronizing. Yeah, I know, Ed, everything is synchronizing. Low volume. Is that better? Sorry, guys, I'm still trying to perfect the sound settings in this. Trying to get so that you guys can hear the people on Zoom better. Alright, Professor Walker will be joining us in a few moments, so he doesn't have a whole lot of time, but I can't pull the mic any closer. I just turned the mic gain up more. I've been adding a filter in there because it's really hot here, so I have my fan going, and I try to filter the fan noise out. So hopefully you guys don't hear a lot of fan noise. That's fine, Mirror Man. I may end up mirroring Slacker's stream if anything happens later. So keep an eye out for that. You don't hear the fan at all? Good. That means the filter's working. Hey, Tammy. It took me like 20 minutes to tweak the filter to hopefully get rid of the fan. Because it's really, you know, from what I understand, it comes across really loud. I've got it turned all the way up, so don't start that crap or you'll be gone. I don't want to hear nothing about no fake charges, none of that bullshit. So don't even start that. If you want to get blocked, then go ahead. You'll be gone. I'm done playing around with the bull. So I just wanted to kind of do a stream because um, let's see, wait. That's probably nothing. If this is not a public sidewalk, this is my channel. So you don't like it, you can leave or be blocked. Either or, I don't care. Audio and video still out of sync for you, Grim? There's not more I can do without restarting the stream, so hopefully it syncs itself up. It might be that I added the filter that's causing it to delay a little. This isn't exactly a supercomputer. So, at any rate, of course, the topic. Oh, just as I go to say something. Yes, Blue Bacon, thank you. I can hear you, barely. Well, here is a relative term. Okay, as I knock everything over. But program can hear you a little bit. I can see volume levels on my screen, and your volume level is coming across low. Where did that can go? Oh well.
Right.
It's showing you're coming across a little louder. Can you turn your mic gain up anymore? I'm comparing your volume level to my volume. And your video's still up. Hold on, guys. We're figuring it out. Uh, Hold on. I'm trying to figure out why you're so low, if it's my end or not.
I've got my volume on my mic and everything. Make sure the mic is close enough to my mouth.
See, your level was a lot higher for a second there.
I think that was it, just having it closer to my mouth.
Yeah, that does it. Can you guys hear him now?
Really sorry about having some technical difficulties. I just came back from vacation and then didn't know where my laptop was, and that was the biggest technical difficulty.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure they can all hear you now. Oh, you froze. Yeah, he's working on it, guys. Sorry, like he just said, he's having a little technical difficulties, but I apologize in advance. For those who don't know who that is, Professor Walker. Oh, let's see. We can see your garage really well. Yeah, I know, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying. I don't know where he even is at the moment. He's probably messing with his cords. So, well, good, Ben. See you later. But anyway, guys, I wanted to kind of talk about the whole public and publicly accessible versus traditionally public property. Looks like he just smacked his cord again. So, hey, Chris M. See, I've been doing a lot of digging because there's been a lot of questions about what is um, public, like what is covered under the First Amendment, where are you allowed to express free speech. You know, of course, the video came up with Josh and Granite. I know Josh was in here a few minutes ago, but in either case, there's been a lot of talk lately about where are you protected for free speech. So I've been doing tons of digging, tons of reading, trying to find everything I can that would affect what we do. Um, yeah, and I can tell you, Professor Walker, in case you guys don't know, is Law and Smoke. He changed the name of his channel to just Professor Walker because YouTube is kind of um, tightening the leash on channels about smoking a bit. So he's just Professor Walker now. So yeah, all right, Steve. Um, so yeah, his channel is just Professor Walker right now, and for those that don't know, I just found out myself he was promoted to head of the department. So that's kind of something we can all, drop in his channel, leave him a comment, say congratulations. You know, we can all appreciate the work he's done, and the fact that he's been willing to help us out and see our side of things has been great. So let's see. Somebody's sending me an email, so let's see who that is. Oh, that would be Eyes on Corruption. I'll get to it, Eyes. I see that you were in the channel. So, hey, East Valley. Yeah, that's kind of what we're going to talk about because one of the things I didn't realize was all this time I've been using the wrong wording. Now, when we talk about sidewalks, I have always called a sidewalk public property. I didn't realize that I was using the wrong term because public property actually. Oh, hey, Kurt, you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hopefully you can hear me, but I'm just using the cell phone because my computer just won't stay connected to the internet.
Yeah,
I just don't know why.
Your levels are showing higher than mine, so that's good.
Okay, well, good. At least you can hear with this, come with the phone link instead of my nice headset.
Yeah, right? The cheap 99-cent thing works, the $200 thing doesn't. I know that all too well.
Yeah, and I apologize 100 times. My computer just won't, I don't know what's going on. It just kept kicking me off the internet, hardwired in, so I'm obviously it's something with our router or something at the house. So you can see all my junk behind me.
Yeah, I was filling everybody in on the fact that you changed your channel name. And
yeah, because I love my tobacco, but social media doesn't. And there's lots of, obviously we know about all the censorship of different people, different ideas. And one of the areas where social media, YouTube, and other places are kind of clamping down on is tobacco products, cigars, vaping, all of that were sort of persona non grata. And so taking smoke out of your name or something like that will help you because some of the biggest YouTube channels that do cigars or pipe smoking have been demonetized. And we know it's only a matter of time before they'll probably take those videos off the platform entirely.
Right.
That's the eventual goal.
Right. Well, I'll be the first to say it here, and I was having my people know as well. The congratulations to you on getting promoted. You told me you were the head of the department now.
Yeah, that's a mixed bag because teaching is what I really enjoy, and being a department chair means you make a little bit extra money, but you get a lot of headache. Because I've never really been the supervisor. I've never wanted to be. I was never a supervisor as a police officer. Never wanted to be. So thank you, but it's definitely a mixed bag. And anybody out there that supervises, you know what I'm talking about, because you're having to deal with people and personalities and all the administrative problems.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've been in charge of software development groups before, and yeah, sometimes it is definitely a mixed bag when you get that promotion. So I can't imagine what it's like in academia.
Yeah, because there's some interesting people in academia, we know, right?
Yeah, right. Hey,
And then you take a bunch of people that used to be cops too and add it on to it. That's quite a mix.
right. So, yeah, I was just telling the people that I've been doing a lot of research on the whole public, because there's three terms that come up a lot: public property, traditional public forum, and publicly accessible. Now, I've always thought your everyday average sidewalk that's, out in public is a public property. I never realized I was using the wrong terminology all this time because it's actually traditional public forum. That's what it falls under. So I had no idea that I was wrong. Apparently a lot of other people are as well.
Yeah, and I think it's probably both depending on the context, right? Because technically the sidewalk, depending on where you're at, could be public property. Because in some areas or some neighborhoods, people own, the private entity owns the sidewalk.
Right.
Because depending on where you live, you're responsible for snow removal and things like that from your sidewalk. You're responsible for the repairs to your sidewalk, and you actually own that property. And in other places, you don't. You don't own the sidewalk; the city owns it. So it varies, but it could be both. So the property might actually be owned by the public, but even if it's privately owned, then it's the public domain. It's still a space where you're allowed to be. They can't throw you off the sidewalk.
Right. Yeah. See, that's what the big issue is where it's traditional public forum. That means that as long as you are not breaking any laws, any statutes or codes or anything that don't impede on your rights, and as long as you like blocking pedestrian traffic or whatever, you can exercise your rights in the traditional public forum. You have full exercising of your rights. But like you're saying on like quote unquote, private sidewalks, I really don't know any other way to word it. Non-traditional, I guess. Would non-traditional public forum make more sense?
You know what? I'm not sure. I would still say it's a public forum. Just because the sidewalk out in front of a property, is owned by that private company, if it's in a commercial area, because I know some of my family lives in a town in Iowa where the sidewalks are privately owned. And you'll even see when you're going for a walk in the neighborhood, sometimes the sidewalk ends because a house decided they didn't want to participate in putting the sidewalk in, and it just stops. Where I'm at, the sidewalks are everywhere because they were put in by the city, and the city will take ownership of that. I don't actually we don't own the sidewalk.
Okay,
I think no matter what, it's still public domain. Being on the sidewalk, you're not violating someone's property rights by walking down the sidewalk or by stopping to film.
Hey, Ozark, I've had not a bunch, but several people correct me, and they say it's called a non-public forum.
A non-public if it's on the sidewalk?
Yeah, if it's not like a municipality sidewalk, not owned by the town, the city, whatever, then it's called a non-public forum.
Yeah, and see, I've never heard that term before.
I hadn't either. One thing though that I really
So what are they saying is that if it's not owned by the city, you can't be there if the person doesn't want you there?
right, correct. That's what we're trying to figure out is well, one thing we all been getting wrong, well, not all, but a lot of us, is calling it public property. The literal definition of public property would be like a library book, you know, because a lot of people, a lot of us were just used to saying, "Hey, I'm on public property. This is public property," but that would be the wrong terminology. It's getting down to words now where, we're actually we got people that are in court based solely on words. One word, the definition of it really could cause you to win your case or lose your case. So, we talked last night a bit about the whole Poster 7 stuff with the wording there for post office auditing. So now we're talking about an instance. I don't know if you've seen Granite State Transparency's channel at all or Josh Russell.
I haven't seen Josh Russell. Granite State, possibly. I remember the name, but I can't remember specifically seeing that one.
Okay, well, they recently did an audit slash, I don't know what you call it, complaint form, and they were in the police station for quite a while. And I mean, honestly, guys, I have to be honest, Josh and Granite, they were extremely vulgar to the cops. They were, they pestering them and being rude. And I've never agreed with that. But the one thing they kept saying is that, you can't kick me out of here. I can say what I want. This is public property. And that's wrong. Where we were talking, the main point we want to get across here is police stations, anything like that, is called publicly accessible, which means like you were talking about those sidewalks that are, covered by the houses, but the public can walk on them. Publicly accessible property means you can go there and you can express your rights, but there are restrictions. You can be trespassed from there. They may have hours of operations, things of that nature.
Yeah, and we used to trespass people occasionally from the police station or fire station, city hall. It comes up occasionally. It's very rare. But when I was a cop, people weren't doing the First Amendment auditing. This didn't happen back then.
Right.
So most of our trespasses were for people that maybe had mental health issues and would be coming down to the police station and screaming at people, or people who sometimes you get people that are obsessed with you as a police officer, stalker type people, stuff like that, but not like this First Amendment thing or somebody, just coming in and, berating police officers. That stuff just didn't happen. So this is, I think, in a lot of law enforcement agencies, this is all very new to them as well. And as they experience it, because they don't have a great grapevine for passing information, but as they experience it, then they're figuring out what to do.
Yes, there's somebody in the channel goes by the name ED2276. He's spouting off a lot of law, so I can't keep up with him. But one of the things he says is it's publicly accessible to conduct business with the government agency, not to engage in First Amendment activities. It's a non-public forum for First Amendment purposes and can be limited. Makes sense.
Well, yeah, because I teach in a college, and one of the big issues that has happening on colleges is where people's First Amendment rights occur. And the colleges try to corral people into these First Amendment zones and say that you can't, protest, or you can't, hold a sign or talk about political issues outside of these little boxes. Even though the entire campus is a public space, we don't have restrictions. Anybody can walk on the college campus. It's public property. It's a public forum for the most part, but we try to restrict people into boxes, and there are lawsuits going through the courts right now about that. And I'm not sure what the latest status is, but I know there's been decisions, I think, both ways. Because like some of the groups will go and want to pass flyers out in hallways, and they'll say, well, you can't do that. You have to be in your First Amendment zone.
Right. Yeah, see, that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I just want to say, as a reference to Josh and Granite, now, I have no right to tell them whether or not they should be vulgar. That's entirely their choice. I can only say that they were wrong in terms of saying, you can't kick me out or tell me to stop because this is public property. You know, that's what people need to understand is a police station or a college or any government contracted facilities, whatever. You can't, just because they're part of paid for by taxes, does not mean you have full First Amendment right to go do and say whatever you want.
No, you can be kicked out.
Yeah, exactly.
Now there's going to be a process, like as if the police department issues you a trespass order and says you're not allowed back, you're going to get your day in court on that, whether they arrest you for a trespass, and a judge is going to determine whether they think that trespass was valid, and they're going to have to document that you were disruptive and you were failing to, comply with whatever they were asking you to do, and they gave you, because it is a public space, they're going to want to make sure that the police or the library or whatever it is, that they gave you every opportunity to comply. It's not like a private business where if it's 7-Eleven and 7-Eleven wants you trespassed, if the manager of 7-Eleven says, hey, I don't want him here anymore, he's causing trouble, that's it. It's a very simple trespass.
Right.
And you're not going to you're not going to win that in court. A public space, because you do have certain rights as a citizen to go to use the public library, to go to the police station, there's going to be a little higher burden of proof. You're going to have to show a little more than just being disruptive, because we're expected to deal with disruptive people.
Right. Well, I mean, like I said, no disrespect to Josh or Granite, but if you watch the video, they were very outspoken, I'll say. If you check News Now Houston's son has a channel, News Now Community. He posted a video on there called an audit, what not to do at an audit. And it shows that video. It illustrates that exact instance. And like I said, I have no right to tell them whether or not they should be vulgar, but I want to make sure people understand the legality of claiming you can't kick me out of here or whatever.
You do have a right to, right? Because you have a First Amendment right to tell them they think it's wrong. You think it's wrong. Whether or not they listen, that's a different thing. And I would object if somebody says you don't have the right to say that. Of course you do. We all have the right to criticize someone else. We have the right to say we think something was wrong or incorrect or the improper way of doing it. Whether they listen, that's different. Right. And they can do their own thing, because I firmly believe, hey, it's America, and you can make the choices you want. You can behave the way you want. You can be an outgoing, friendly person if you want, or you can be rude and vulgar to certain limits if you want to.
Right. Now, public parks, those fall under publicly accessible, not traditional public forums. So, I mean, how do you decide what gets you kicked out of a park? I mean,
I think it's the same thing. It would be the same like disruptive behavior that's interfering with other people in the park enjoying their time in the park, and you would have to have that same level of proof or documentation, and that you would say to kick someone out of the police station. It couldn't be just, hey, the park ranger doesn't like you, hey, you're filming here. That shouldn't be it. You'd have to be doing a little more a little more to be disruptive, because that is a public space that you should be entitled to be in.
Right.
And like say filming by itself should not get anyone thrown out of the park.
Right. You see, Blue Bacon. I don't know if you've heard of him yet. He's relatively new, but he's very book smart on law and very insightful on law. And he's been doing a lot of videos that can be used to teach new auditors about the laws that affect what we do. He's saying public parks are public forums, usually. Criminal activity, of course, will get you kicked out. Disobeying. See, the one thing that gets me is the disobeying park rules. If it has park rules, that makes it publicly accessible, not traditional public forum. Because a traditional public forum, you're only governed by law. You know, like a public sidewalk.
And every park is going to have rules, whether or not they have any sort of rules about filming and things like that. I think most parks don't have any rules about filming.
Right.
Somebody can probably correct me, but I've never seen that. I've never noticed that. Normally, you're allowed to take pictures and film in any park, but every park has rules.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking about like the auditor that may, be walking through the park and they may be on their way to an audit or whatever, and they encounter people that are like, "Why are you filming me? You're not supposed to be filming me. I'm calling the cops on you." That scenario. It does happen. So that's when you run into okay, well, that person was not being disruptive. They were just walking with a camera.
Right.
So
yeah, I wouldn't call that disruptive. I mean, I wouldn't do it because random people in the park don't like or want to be filmed, and I know people have the right to do that. But yeah, you're going to cause problems, and maybe at some point there will be a court case on that, because one of the principles involving free speech, as long as you're not infringing upon rights of someone else, maybe somewhere along the line a court decides that filming people in public spaces is invading their privacy. Eventually a court case may pop up like that.
Yeah, that's where it gets really tricky, though. Invasion of privacy in public. Is that even possible?
Right. Well, because I think in Europe, they're far more protective of people's privacy and what you post online. And I think we're kind of going there because we have a public that doesn't value free speech the way the public did 30 or 40 years ago. Younger people's belief in what's free speech and what shouldn't be free speech is changing.
Yeah, see, it's kind of like I say, now this is just my opinion. It's not a law, but I say, like, hate speech may be free speech, but it doesn't have to be tolerated speech. I encounter this in my channel all the time. Oh, you're not allowing First Amendment speech. You're not, you're blocking free speech, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, my online channel is not a traditional public forum.
Well, and it's private. It's a private channel.
Right.
On YouTube, a private entity's a place.
Yeah.
None of us have a right to be here on YouTube. YouTube can shut any of us down at any moment.
Yep, exactly. That's my point. Personally, I'm tired of all of the crap nonsense, but we won't go that far. Yeah, Southside Slacker says there's no such thing as hate speech. Well, I consider things like racism and bigotry to be hate speech. That's what I mean by hate speech.
I would agree that there is something called hate speech, but I don't think it should be illegal. I think it still should be protected free speech.
Right.
And maybe you get banned from a platform where they kick you off YouTube, but we're not arresting you for it, for words. But I think younger people, because I see this with college students, younger people now have a belief that they think this hate speech should be criminalized.
Yeah, see.
I hope that changes and people's viewpoints start to swing back to that old-fashioned view that I object to what you say, but I defend your right to say it. But we're not there right now. Right now, we have people that want to suppress people's speech, including auditors. I think you're in that same category where there's plenty of people that would want to suppress your ability to do what you do, which I've never argued for that.
Well, maybe I'm wrong in clustering certain types of wording as hate speech. Because, like, Slacker says something that makes perfect sense. He says, hate speech is a term used to restrict rights. The most offensive speech is the most protected.
Yes, correct. I agree with that the most offensive is the most protected, but free speech only means that you're protected from government censorship or government action against you, not private action.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I do agree hate speech is still free speech when you are in public, in a public forum. But if you're in my house or in my channel, I have every right to just, sorry, I don't appreciate that. You have to leave. That's my choice.
I've banned very few people from my channel. I've censored very few comments. But if I have somebody that comes on the channel and they've got an avatar that is some World War II Nazi general, which I've had, or a guy who's the architect of the Holocaust is the person's avatar, and that's the name they gave themselves, yeah, I'm banning them right off the bat. Go away. Right. I don't want you on my channel.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, there's certain people that I'm tired of what they stand for and what they do constantly, so they are the ones that I block. But otherwise, I try to be as open-minded as possible. But, sometimes it just gets to a point where when I'm getting emails constantly from people saying, why are you allowing that? Why do you do that? It ruins your chat, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm like, okay, I'm going to put my foot down. Those select few people need to go. I'm sorry, but they do. It's my problem.
If somebody's harassing somebody or bothering somebody, yeah, you don't want that. You don't want to take it away from your chat.
Yeah, and it's just, I'm glad we're getting this out there and letting people talk about this, even in the chat, even if they were ignoring me. The fact is, a couple people like Finbar Martin and that Ed person are providing a lot of useful information. They're quoting case laws, and I can't keep up with all of it, but there's a lot of useful information happening in the chat. So, and like I said, I wanted you here because you're better at understanding law and legalese than I am. Far better. You give me.
Oh, thank you. I'm no lawyer though.
No, but I understand software. You give me code and I'm good, or math and I'm good. But when it comes to law, I scratch my head a lot. So, I didn't even realize I was using the term public property so incorrectly. It was ingrained in me my whole life. People have always said, "Oh, that's public property."
Right. Right. Yeah, me too. And you're going to find, I think, most police officers that you encounter on the street, they're going to struggle with those definitions too, because sometimes they're going to be hearing it for the first time, public domain versus non-public domain. And you'll have to educate those police officers one at a time because they're not going to know this. It just does not come up in any training that law enforcement gets.
Yeah, you're right. And that's kind of a downfall too, because it really sucks. I call it sidewalk litigation, but when we're forced to actually go to court, when we know we're 100% right, we know we followed the law to the T. There's no way we were illegal in any way, shape, or form. But yet we're still forced to go get a lawyer. We're still forced to pay bail fees. When you get a bondsman, you don't get that money.
And I think I shared this on a previous chat with you, but other folks here may not have heard it. But one of the jobs I had before I was a police officer was I worked for an armored car company. and they carried guns there. And California is a very strict gun state, a lot of restrictions about moving guns. And for security guards, they have to unload their gun just like anyone else and secure the ammunition, secure the gun to transport it. Well, under California state law, there's a tiny exception for armored car guards because of the job that they do coming to and from work. They're vulnerable to attack. For somebody that would want to take over that building, and get into the safe and stuff. So they're allowed to have their gun on them, loaded, ready to go. And we would have difficulty with police officers all the time that would stop our guards coming to and from work, arrest them, sometimes physically book them into jail for carrying a loaded firearm in public. And our security guards would carry little cards with the California Penal Code section in their uniform pocket so they could show the police officers. And sometimes they would still go to jail. And I think it was a good experience for me because when I was a police officer, I always knew I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to take somebody to jail without really knowing, and I'm going to try to listen. But I know because the auditors, I'm sure it happens to you guys all the time, because it happened to us as armed security guards where police officers were arrested.
Yeah, Southside Slackers in here. He's actually talking about doing. He does a lot of what we call Second Amendment audits. He walks around with a fully legal weapon. He's in Texas, and it follows the law to the T. And yet, they constantly. If you look at him, he looks like your regular inner city guy. He's got tattoos on the necks, all that. But if you actually talk to the guy, he's super intelligent, and he knows the laws. He knows that he's right. But yet, constantly, they bother him, and they you know what a Terry Pat is, of course.
Right.
They'll tell them they're doing a Terry Pat, but yet they're checking his gun. They're touching his gun. Now, as far as I've asked this before, and it's not legal for them to do that. They're not allowed to check your gun and see if it's chambered or whatever. At least in Texas,
maybe
that's not part of the Terry Pat.
Yeah, because here in California, it would make. Although actually, we changed the law here. It used to be that you could carry an unloaded firearm in public, but not a loaded one. But now in California, you can't do either, so it wouldn't even matter here anymore. But in the past, that would have been, because I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago that California clamped down on the carrying of an unloaded firearm, which is silly. It's a stupid law, but it's California.
Yeah, he just said, and removing the magazine, which, yes, I have seen them do to him, is they'll come up, grab his weapon, take it off from around his neck, because he always has the I guess it's called a harness on it, but he's always got it on. He's always got illegal. Like I said, they may not like it, but he's always legal. And they take it off of him, and they say,
I don't think though that there's a problem if they're coming to stop and they're detaining him. See, the problem is, what are they detaining him for? But if you're doing illegal detention, you can separate someone from a weapon, take a magazine out, unload it so that the weapon is safe. But I think the actual problem is, what's the cause for the detention?
Right. Well, the cause for the detention is simply he's a guy who looks like he may have been a gangbanger at one time, walking down the street on a public sidewalk with, an AR around his neck. A lot often it's slung behind him, so it's not even like he could just quickly grab it and shoot somebody. It's just the point is he's carrying it because he can. It's legal to, and they will.
It's probably not a justified detention. I can't see I can't see how that's justified.
Well, if you looked at his channel, Southside Slacker SLAKR 210, you'd see he's been almost every time he does a Second Amendment walk. they come after him. He's got some videos where they like surround him with ARs hiding behind cars and stuff. You know,
Well, because the other side of it is the public is going to call in on that person. People are going to call and say, hey, there's a man with a gun walking down the street. And then the police are in there and people are going to call, oh my gosh, it's this guy that looks like a gang member. You know, they're going to freak out. And then a police officer seeing him is going to think, if you're thinking from a police officer's perspective, whoa, that guy looks dangerous and I don't want to approach him by myself. I'm not surprised that's what the response is. But if it's legal to carry a weapon like that in Texas, they shouldn't be.
right?
It should be more of an approach that maybe it's two officers approaching, a ready approach, but hey, can we talk to you? Because it has to be a permissive contact. It can't be a stop, because a stop right there, that means you have to have reasonable suspicion that a crime occurred. And you don't have reasonable suspicion that a crime occurred. It's legal to carry a gun there. So
Right.
I don't see where this could possibly be a lawful detention.
Yeah, it's never, in every single instance, he's never been too close to a park. He's never had his finger on the trigger. He's never raised a weapon towards anybody. It's all on video. Everything is there, fully recorded for the world to see.
See, we're filing any civil rights lawsuits, because I would think maybe he's got some.
That's the problem is it costs money to do that.
Yeah, he's got to try to. I would be trying to find an attorney that would be willing to file some lawsuits, because they sound like a violation, not just of Second Amendment, but his Fourth Amendment right.
Yeah,
because that does not seem like there's no way that that's legitimate, because you can't detain somebody without reasonable suspicion that a crime has occurred. And what's the crime? What can they articulate?
right. Yeah, see, that's the other another situation where something similar came up was Colorado Donkey Watch. It was like his first audit, or one of his first audits he's ever done.
I do remember that one.
Oh, you did? You with the
I
face
remember that one. Yeah,
mask?
I've seen that one.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. I mean, they even asked him, or he asked them if they wanted to talk to him. And once they said no, that was it. That was it was now word falls right out of my head, but it wasn't a permissible contact. Yet they slam him to the ground, go through his pockets, all that crazy stuff. This is what I mean by they don't even give us a chance to prove we're legal. They just assume they are, and we're not. That's what I mean by sidewalk litigation is they don't care if we spout the laws, or like you said, carry the little law in their pocket. We've had auditors that used to walk around with the DHS memo about photography in federal public buildings. They would go to a federal building, and yet they still would get thrown down, arrested, all that. And they'd like, look, here's the memo, here's the law. The cops didn't care. And that's what I mean is we're forced to go to jail, pay a bondsman, go through court, all that crap, when all the cop had to do was read the law.
Yeah, and none of that's good. But one of the things I do wonder is how much of this, is driven by some people, their personalities here on YouTube, that want to get that million view video. And so they're pushing boundaries, because these are the type of things that prior to YouTube never happened. Because if you couldn't put a video out there and get it to go viral and get a million hits on it, there's no reason really to do most of this stuff. Very little. I mean, we had cop watch organizations, but you didn't have people walking around with guns. Hey, I'm just testing. And so there was the ability to video it and get it out there to the world. So is it because we want to test the Second Amendment or First Amendment rights, or is it just because we want a lot of YouTube views?
Right. Well, the whole, right to bear arms thing, that goes back to Black Panthers and Minutemen. And so, I mean, that's been going on forever. But as far as filming, there's
But
actually.
it was very limited. It wasn't like, hey, I'm just going to keep walking down the street until someone stops me. It was a little different. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. I'm not criticizing them. I just think, weighing why am I really doing this? Am I doing this for a good reason, or am I just doing it?
Well, I can
like
tell you,
this?
and when I first saw Slacker's videos years ago, I honestly thought he was just trying to bait the cops until I actually got to know him as a person. And he's a friend of mine now. I talk to him offline. I've gotten to know him, and most people, when they look at him, they automatically judge him. Like I said, he's got tattoos around the neck and all that. But I come from the inner city myself, so it's like I know looks are deceiving. He's incredibly intelligent, and he does not do this for money. He's not trying to get that million view. If you look at his channel, he barely has any videos. He's not out there trying to get 1,000 videos that are monetized with 15 ad breaks and all that. He's not doing that. He does it because he genuinely cares about the right to bear arms and his rights being respected in Texas. He genuinely cares. And I highly recommend anybody, if you want to see somebody passionate about what they do, go look at Slacker's videos. Because he may get vulgar, but it's passion behind it. It's not hate. He's not trying to get rich. None of that. He's not rich. If you got to know the guy, he's a hardworking man, busts his butt like everybody else. So these are the situations like that. I wish cops would be more open to, thinking that they could be wrong. Maybe they don't have that reasonable, articulable suspicion or whatever. Stop assuming they're right. Let's do the arrest and let them work it out in court. Because at the very least, if they should change it so that if you get a bondsman and you win your case or the charges are dropped or whatever, then the police that arrested you have to reimburse your bond. Like to you, what you paid that bond, that 10% you give the bondsman. Because it's not right for us to have to pay out to a bondsman and have that money completely disappear for a case that we knew we were right to begin with. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, people that do try and recoup their losses are always told no. I mean, Furry Potato went out today and was trying to get reimbursement for damage done to her equipment during a contact. And even she said she's done this before and they always tell her no. So, I mean, how do we make that better for people? How do we make that better?
I don't have the answer to that. Lawsuits, but you have to have lawyers willing to do cases that aren't going to have a big financial return, which is almost impossible. Because it would say for a camera, for a few $100s, getting an attorney to take that, good luck, because attorneys won't take those kind of cases unless they can get, big dollars, because the cost of an attorney, $800 doesn't even hardly pay for a one-time meeting.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so, that's why I'm trying to do these videos too, and try to help auditors, new auditors, old auditors, doesn't matter. And just people who may come across this video by accident to make sure they understand when you're in public or you're in a police station or you're in a public park or whatever, some places do have rules you have to follow. And, you know, like I said, I have no right to tell anybody whether or not they can be vulgar, but at least make sure you understand the law. Understand what you're doing before you walk in that door.
And back on the vulgar issue, really quick. Um, yeah, people have a right to do that. But what they're doing, either intentionally or unintentionally, is they're elevating the situation. And most human beings, no matter what roles we're in, police officers, citizens, you work at a Circle K, you work at Walgreens, you reciprocate behavior back. When somebody is coming to you and you work at a customer service job and they're irate and they're yelling and screaming, yeah, you are trained to take it, right? But how many of us, when we worked a customer service job, did maybe say something smart ass back to somebody? We do.
Right.
We also then are thinking, hey, I'm not going to help that person. It's human nature. And I think it's kind of trying to go contrary to human nature to think, well, the police officers can be called names and screamed at, and they're not going to have a human response to it to be like, hey, screw you. So I think it's kind of like saying, hey, yeah, I'm asking for it. It's reciprocal behavior. And because if you treat the cops nicely, maybe something bad could happen. Because I know people have said stories that, hey, we treat them nice, we smile and friendly, and yet I still got arrested or something. But let's be real, your odds are far, far less, whether it's getting a ticket, getting arrested for something, if you're explaining your case in a friendly, nice way. And you're right, you don't have to. You can be rude.
Yeah, it's one of those things where just make sure you're well aware of the consequences and be prepared for it. Again, going back to Slacker, he knows full and well what could happen. So he's already prepared to deal with whatever outcome happens. But my point is a lot of auditors, activists aren't. They go in there they don't understand the law, they misquote the law, or they're just not prepared to deal with the consequences of their actions. We've had some in the past that were drinking before they went out, and of course that affected how they acted. And of course, next thing you know, they're online, and they're not online, but their loved ones are online because they're in jail. So it's kind of one of those, make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into. And that's another reason why I enjoy having you on here, is because you can explain the cop's perspective of what could happen, and what they may be feeling from a cop's perspective when a person that, I don't know what you'd call it, not necessarily a perp, but somebody you were called to investigate, is either vulgar with you or nice with you. That could dictate. You just said it could. That could dictate how your response would be.
Well, just as an idea, I was a police patrol officer. I never worked traffic details, so I was never on a motorcycle. And I used to write tickets occasionally. I would probably only write about 1 or 2 tickets a month. And usually it was only just because, someone just blew the red light right in front of you and the public is looking at you like, come on, cop, do something about it. But I was never, I wasn't really sitting out there. It was very rare that I was actually looking for traffic violations. That would almost never happen. But when I would pull people over, 80, 90% of the time, police patrol officers, especially in a busy area, now it's different in little tiny towns. It definitely is. Because sometimes that's all they got to do, and that's their whole life is traffic tickets. But in a busier urban area, if I pulled someone over and they had their driver's license, the registration, the insurance on the car, and they were polite, I almost never gave them a ticket. Almost never. Because you were like, oh, here's a warning. And, and the person's like, oh, okay, I'll slow down. Or, oh, I didn't realize that stop sign was there. Or I wasn't paying attention. Okay, have a nice day. But I did have those incidents. And I'm thinking of a particular case where I pulled this guy over. And as soon as I'm walking up to the car, he's screaming at me. Why are you guys pulling me over again? And he's yelling. And then, of course, I'm like, all right, well, here, license, registration, insurance. We'll write a ticket. And you can say, and people in the comments can say I was wrong for doing that, but that's human nature. And I don't think anybody would do it any differently. Because I think I treated people very, very well and always went out of my way to treat people well. But when somebody's screaming at you, you're like, oh, okay, here, I'll write you the ticket. Press hard, 4 copies, your court date's March 27th. Which I'm sure, if we've all had a ticket, we know that experience.
Yeah. Now,
hey, Brian, I actually got to go. Even though I came in a little bit late, but I promised my family I would be done at 7.
That's fine. But I appreciate you coming on, man, spending some time with me and just talking about this.
Thank you.
So
thank you, and yeah, and I'm always willing to, as long as I'm able. And I'm sorry about the other day, but now that my new supervisory role, sometimes I get roped into little emergencies, but hopefully not too often. Not too often.
Hopefully.
So again, thank you, Brian, and thank you for having me, and thank you for everybody that commented. I'm sure there's lots of comments of people loving me, right?
No, you had nothing but positive that I've seen.
Okay. Because usually I get the badge liquor stuff.
All right, man. We'll set up another time. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.
So everybody, you guys, hopefully you enjoyed this and this was informative to you guys. Like I said before, I'm not trying to tell you guys what to do or any auditor what to do. Everybody is free to make their own decision. I'm just trying to help make sure that everybody knows what they're getting into. So, I don't think he clicked the disconnect. That's a hell of a snapshot of him. Look at that. Looks like he's had one too many. Oh man, that's priceless. I'm gonna have to save that screenshot right there. That's class. You guys seeing this, right? Looks like Professor Walker's been hitting the juice. Yep, freeze frame. Yeah, I was trying to think of that word. I couldn't think of it. Now you guys got stuck in my ugly face. So, but if anybody's got any questions for me before I go, I know Slacker was talking about doing a walk tonight, and I always love watching his walks. So, and Pinder, I believe, is doing a stream as well. So yeah, and Honest Gas, I don't know if he's going to go live again or not. And Greta, thanks again for that super chat that you did earlier. For anybody that wants to, of course, there's the PayPal up there if you want to help out a bit, or not. It's entirely up to you. What is Greta trying to do? Hey, Ozark, yeah, I got your email and responded to it earlier. I hope you feel better, man. I was going to call you after the stream, but I'm guessing you're probably too tired. And yes, for everybody that's celebrating tomorrow, please be safe. If you're going to be drinking at all, please don't drive. Ed2276. My email address is on my about page. Hey, Albert, I didn't see you sneak in here. Yes, are you going to be going live again or no? Hey, Ozark, let me know if you don't mind me. I was just going to call, check up on you, and shoot the shit, but if you want to rest, that's fine. Albert, she's dealing. It's very hot and humid here, so. Denise, I will always do what I can. I try. You're still live, Jess? Alright, well, since nobody's got any more questions for me or not, like I said, check out Pinder's stream, check out Gas's stream, and of course, check out each other's channels, support each other, subscribe to each other. Enjoy your holiday. Do not drink and drive, please. I do not want to have to do any tribute videos. So, otherwise, I guess I'll talk to you all later. If anyone wants to get a hold of me, my email address is on my about page. So, you all have a good evening. Thanks for watching.